Hey, what's up? Welcome to DGen Ed. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts and going over some data. And so this is pre-market prep for Monday, March 10th, which is Mario Day. So happy Mario Day. But yeah, I'm just going to be taking you through the normal tickers here before the market opens. And then I also wanted to take a quick look at SoundHound AI, just do a follow-up from last night's ticker request live, dived into some unusual whales data there, so pretty interesting to follow up on that. And then also we'll be taking a look over at BigBear AI, ticker symbol BBAI. But first we are going to start with the UVIX, which is the 2x long VIX futures ETF, which I always like to follow, just a nice way to hedge the markets. And we can see that on Friday, March 7th, we closed at a price of $38.99, being down about 9% as we can see over here. But in the pre-market, we are up over 9%, being right around $42.62. And so what we have here, I like to kind of think about the UVIX as having 2-week cycles where it goes up, followed by 2-week cycles where it goes down, all just being approximate, but just thinking about it as, kind of a nice way to swing trade this. And so personally for me, I am unfortunately not holding any UVIX. I did have some down here, but I trimmed up on this spike and it didn't come back to my buy level, which, at this point, I think that, it coming down to either the 50 or 21-day moving average right around $31, $31.50, or $30, this orange line here, those would be really nice dip buying levels that I think we could be seeing the UVIX pulling back to in the next 2 weeks. But, it might take some more time, as we did put in a new high for this cycle on Friday, March 7th, hitting a high of 45.22, nearly getting to this downtrending light blue line, which is from this parallel channel here. And yeah, we've been trading in that since we broke out above it when we hit this high during August 7th. And we do have the 200-day moving average here. That is right around $47 a share. So still possibility that this could go higher. And let's see, I will continue to adjust this green box to go with that high. But I understand that in the coming days, I will probably be having to adjust it. But since we did put in a new high for this cycle on Friday, I'm just going to adjust it over there to that, which is 45.22. And then I'll just, actually, I should have probably, let's see, that's unlocked. Can I move this over? 45.22, making sure that's right. So that looks good. And then for this red box, I'm going to do the same thing, drag that over, and then put the high at 45.22. So, and then I should also probably consider moving this over. So that represents about 2 weeks, 10 bars. So that's 10 trading days, 14 calendar days, 2 weeks right there in red. And so we'll see if the top is in there. I suspect it's probably going to be going a little bit higher, but in the pre-market, we are not yet at the top of that green box. And so just to look at that pre-market price action, looking over at the 10-minute time frame, we can see that on Friday after the close, we were just trading sideways, didn't really do anything, but then we gapped up into the pre-market and then are just kind of floating higher. So we will have to see if we get above. It looks like I have it as 45.22, but for the 10-minute candles, oddly, the high is 45.20. Not really sure what's going on there. But, whether it's 45.22 or 45.20, doesn't really matter. We do have, the big wick up, red candle closing lower than Thursday's open. And so this might be the signs that we're getting to a top. We also see as price is kind of topping off up here with the big wick up here. We had a little bit of a boost in volume, but since then with the higher high on Friday, volume has been diminishing, so we might be seeing a turnaround in this week, if not today on Mario Day. But yeah, priced around $43 in the pre-market. But let's quickly look over at the VIX, which is the Market Volatility Index, which closed on Friday at 2337, being down about 6% on the day, but closing the week above $20 a share. And so that is kind of a level that, when we're getting above that level, that's when we see some massive spikes like this, like we saw on August 5th. That was a Monday, and on the prior Friday, on the 2nd of August, we closed at a price of $23.39. So being very similar to what we saw over here, but we are not seeing such a panic in the pre-market. So I don't necessarily expect this to be launching up like it did then. There was also actually not with the VIX, but with the UVIX, there was a reverse split. But anyways, yeah, if I flip over to the 10-minute time frame, there's no pre-market trading, no after-hours trading with this because it's just options, and that's really why I like to be looking over at the UVIX, but we are still trading above this light blue uptrend here, which was support over here, kind of acted as resistance in this range, but we are above it. And let's see if we can be holding above 2376. That was the high that we hit after that big move from August. Let's see, 5th. I believe this would have been September 6th. Yeah. So I remember those dates. There's a little bit of a spike there, but we haven't really hit above that until we spiked up here. It looks like on December 18th, as well as the highs that we've been putting over the past week. So we'll see where that takes us. But then now moving on to look at the SPY. This is the S&P 500 tracking ETF, which closed on Friday at a price of $575.92, being up about 0.5% on the day, but now pulling back about $8 or 1.4% approximately in the pre-market. Let's see here. We do have the 200-day moving average just below where we opened and closed on Friday. Did wick below it, but that 200-day moving average looks like it's at a price of $569.54. We will see if we do get a bounce, but currently we are still actually trading above it at around 568. That level is at 5. Actually, no, sorry, I was thinking about the low. We are trading just below that 200-day moving average, but we're above the lows from Friday, which was $565.63. If we do take a step back, yeah, I had talked about, apparently on Friday that I thought that this could be coming a little bit lower, kind of a fake out break below that 200-day moving average before we get a bounce to start to reclaim some of these levels. And so one of them, it looks like, was the low from January 13th when we started to bounce. From there, we went up about 6.5% to new all-time highs. And so I think that level, the white line there, will be an important one to reclaim, which looks like it's at $575.35. So we want to be seeing some closes above that, which would also be corresponding with getting back up into this parallel channel here based on these pivot points you can see there. And that could also correspond with getting back above this yellow downtrend, which did act as some pretty notable resistance here when we would start the weeks with a gap down, and then we would reclaim that level only to get rejected from that yellow downtrend before we broke above it, and then that acted as support over here. Or actually, no, I think that what I'm talking about is those gap downs were over here with that yellow line acting as support. But prior to those gap downs, which was because of DeepSeek and tariff wars, whatnot, we were getting bounces from that yellow downtrend. Over here, not sure why that was acting as resistance, but very clearly it was before it flipped to support, and now we are below that. So I suspect it will be acting as resistance again, but if we can flip it as support, maybe that will be happening by the end of the month. So maybe the next, over the course of the next week, we hopefully start to form a bottom and then start to move higher. So that is what I would be looking for. And then if we do switch over to the 10-minute time frame, we can see this is just the doodle, that light green line that I have drawn there. but we can see the low from Friday of $565.63. While we did gap down into the pre-market today, we are still holding above the lows from Friday, so we'll see if we can hold above them, and that is again at $565.63. And yeah, so if I do just pull back to the 1 day daily candles here, yeah, it would be good for us to get back above that $575 range, getting above there to start to move higher. But then if we do look over at the SPX real quick, just to see if there's anything that stands out, really just thinking about that 200-day moving average, that is at a price of $5,733.10. And I should note that this SPX is the S&P 500 index. And yeah, so we are currently above that 200-day moving average, closed on Friday at $5,770.20, being up just like the SPY, right around 0.5%. And there's no pre-market or after-hours trading with this one, so we'll have to see where it opens up. Would be great to see it reclaim that low from January 13th, which over here was at a price of $5,773.31. Also coinciding with the downtrending light blue line there, as well as the yellow line. So we will see if we can get above that, perhaps by the end of the next couple weeks. Maybe we start to form a bottom over this week and then start to rally next week. And by the 21st, maybe we're back above 5,773. So we'll have to keep that in mind. But now let's take a quick look over at Bitcoin, which this is actually a pretty interesting one. So I did actually open up a small position. I do my normal $5 DCAs, have my dip level buys for slightly more aggressive buys at the downside, but what I did was just to see about a little bit of a swing trade. So I like to follow Crypto Rover. He does daily video before the market opens, actually before I wake up, and so I like to catch up on his analysis really before starting the day. And every single weekend, he talks about the CME gap, which if I do look over at, let's see, I'll just do the 1 hour time frame. I have that based on, it looks like the closing price from the hour of the market closes, so 4 p.m. Eastern on March 7th. So the closing candle, and it depends on the exchange that you look at, the numbers are all going to be a little bit different. This I am looking here on Webull, and so that level was about $86,953.10. But let's just say, if it's a level to the upside, let's round down. If it's a level to the downside, let's round up, just because of rounding errors, exchanges, order fills, all of that. So let's say it's right around $86,000. And so over the weekend, we dipped to a low of, basically sub 80,000. And so with those CME gaps, what tends to happen is within the first 3 trading days, we get a fill of that gap. So we could see maybe something like that. And or, let's see, since we have already started to move higher, I won't clutter it. Maybe we get, a little bit of something like that. And that would be by the 12th. That's Wednesday. And actually I got these lines that are all white. I'm going to make this, let's see, this is, going to be an exit level. So right around there. So if I just draw, this kind of floating up to there, that would be a nice little move. And so from current price, that would represent almost just about 5% move to the upside. But if we're going to, let's see, 86,000, so let's just round that. And I believe I got my fill between 81 and 82,000. So let's just say that is a low of 82,000 and a high of 86,000. And oops, And so that represents almost a 5% swing. So nothing too crazy, but I thought I'd partake in that. And so my swing is just $10, so it's a very small risk. If this doesn't happen, if we do flush down into the 70s, that's fine. No big deal for me. But I would like to see this happen, and then I just get 50-cent profit, so nothing too crazy there. But yeah, let's flip back over to the daily time frame. I'm just gonna delete that little doodle that I have there. What it looks like we've got going on with Bitcoin trading around $83,000. We do have this yellow downtrend going back to the highs from December 17th. Got this other pivot point here. Did act as some approximate support here on the way down, but now we are below that. And also this red uptrend that I have drawn here going back to the lows from January 13th. I believe we were also talking about that level when looking at the either volatility index or the SPY, I forget which one, but that uptrending level was some nice support over here between January and February, but then we broke below that. And at the end of February, did retest it over here on March 2nd. That does look like it's acting as some resistance. We do have a lot of levels up there to the upside. This purple line here between around 92 and 93,000, and then also this 786 retracement from right here. And that looks like it's at a price of around $83,500 there. And so what I'm kind of expecting with this is, really over the next couple of days, a move back up to 86,000 or so. I got my alert right there at 86,000. That was a level that I was paying attention to on the downside, really because of this Fibonacci retracement here, the 382 right around 86. But we do have this level, the 50% retracement, around 78, 79,000, which we did wick down to on the 28th of February. And we did get a, let's see, on the 9th, so that was yesterday, we did get a wick down to just below or right around 80,000, so getting pretty close to 79,000 there. And so I do think that there is potential for further downside dip buy levels for me, which, my daily DCA is $5. These dip buy levels are $10, so nothing too crazy. And so that would be like 75,000, really just corresponding with getting to approximately the highs from over here where I got the shaded box. They were right around 74,000. So here the high looks like it was $73,826.19, just rounding to around 74,000, but maybe we don't get to 74,000. So that's why I have a dip buy level at 75 and then also 72. That would be corresponding with the 618 here around $72,000, really just being just below, but in case that exact level doesn't get filled, 72,000. So $10 dip buy levels there, nothing too crazy. You do you. $10, $5, $10 on these dips, $5 a day. No emotions for me with that, just a nice way to accumulate kind of passively. And then I do have this alert here at 69,000, really just being kind of fun, having fun with that level. And actually, maybe I want to adjust that. Let's fully embrace the fun and make that 69,420. And let's see, yeah, I got that marked right there. And so, I don't have an order placed there. I don't expect anything to get filled. But really, if it starts to get into, if this alert goes off and that order's filled at 72,000, I will then probably place a much bigger order in the 60s or maybe at 70 just to buy the dip, because I think it will be a dip. I think that we will be rallying into the end of the year, kind of similar to what happened in 2021. That was the year after the halving, and we did put in a new all-time high later in the year in February. And so we might be seeing some pain in November. We might be seeing some pain between now and then. But I think that's all just going to be, dip buying opportunities there. But anyways, I think that's kind of enough on Bitcoin. I do think that it's going to be going up to, like I said, 86,000. Maybe we get a flush up to 100,000 to squeeze out some shorts. and or sweep some shorts, I guess I should say, and then we might see that flush down to here before then starting to rally to the upside. So I think it's just a game of sweeping out all of those who are over leveraged. And right now, from watching Crypto Rovers videos, my understanding is there is some over leveraged shorts to the upside, so maybe we sweep those out, and then bulls get too excited, and then we sweep them out to the downside. And so now I'm just going to look over at URA, which is the Global X Uranium ETF, just like to be following uranium, which closed here on Friday at a price of $23.94, being down about 1% on the day on Friday, and then continuing down about 1.5% in the pre-market. And so what we can see is, I was talking about with this one coming down to around $24.50. We are currently trading lower than that by about $1. Did come down to a low that we hit on, it looks like Tuesday, March 4th. That was at a price of $22.91. Bouncing there, we will have to see if we can be making these stair steps higher, and if we can be holding that low of 22.91. But anyways, I did want to get over to these other tickers before it gets too late, talking about SoundHound over here. This is ticker symbol SOUN, closed on Friday at a price of $9.74, being up about 2% on the day, but now it looks like in the pre-market down about 5% or about 50 cents, currently trading around $9.26. And so, I have been thinking that this is looking more and more bullish because it didn't come down to $8, which is a level I had talked about. It didn't even come down to the 200-day moving average, which looks like it's currently at a price of $8.26, about $1 lower than current price. We did get a bounce on February 25th. Hitting a low of $8.49, so kind of a tease for anybody hoping that the 200-day moving average would be getting hit, or people like me who are looking for $8 a share. And so from there, following earnings, we did bounce back into this falling wedge that I had previously drawn out, kind of, following this little bouncing doodle that I have there, but although not going down to $8 a share or, to these levels around 7. And so we are back into that falling wedge, but we are still below the purple line here at 1025, which corresponds with the high from Pi Day from last year. And also that does look like bigger picture. That is kind of the neckline or the brim of this cup and handle formation here. Did get a breakout, now effectively a retest with a fake out break below. I think that this still has some potential to the upside. I would just like to see some closes above 1025 there. And I also do have this white line here marked at 1040. I think 1025 is probably a more significant level. I should note, though, that the 21-day moving average is here at a price of around 1152. But not to get into the 10-minute time frame, because I don't think that's necessarily that important. I really just wanted to look over at the data from unusual whales. So over here from the flow feed, I am just going to, adjust the time frame to be limited to March 7th. I am going to adjust the premium just above Ed's head there to be $100,000. And then I am going to adjust the ticker to be restricted to SoundHound AI, because this was pointed out to me in a comment from the last video that there was a pretty big buy order, actually two of them, for the $11 strike call that expires on July 18th. And so it looks like the first one that was purchased at 10:24 a.m. on the 7th, so on Friday, that first order was around $165,000, and then the second order was purchased around 105, right around 106, 6 seconds before, and on Friday, 1 in the afternoon, and that was an order of $1.33 million. So pretty big order there. Both of these do look like they were on the bullish side, so that suggests that these contracts were bought, or this contract was bought at both of these times. And so I can click on that contract just to get the details. And because this is the same contract, it doesn't matter which one I click on. It will pull up the data for both of them. And to dive into this, I'm just going to have Ed step out of the way there, so he's not blocking the data, which we will go over. And then I'm just going to adjust this to be 1 day, so we see that for Friday. With that smaller buy here, that looks like a candle premium actually over here of 1.6 million. Sorry, 1.6 million for the daily premium. But this candle here, it looks like that was a candle premium of over $1 million. But the order that stood out that was above 100,000, that looks like it was just one order within this time span. So overall, over $1 million in this, let's see, 5-minute time span. If I just do 1 minute, let's see, we can see that candle premium there for that 1 minute was, let's see, that candle premium. Let's see, I can't zoom in on it. Let's see. Yeah, it's still the same. So I'm just going to switch this back over to the 10-minute time frame. But anyways, I don't want to be spending too much time on this. You can just see the spikes in the premium, the net call premium going up there. That does suggest buying. And what we see, this is very interesting. While this data suggests buying, what we see here is that the open interest was 32,000 on Friday. We had a volume of 18,000, but we actually saw the open interest go down by about 8,000 contracts, going from around 32 to 24,000. And so what that makes me think is that this was somebody, perhaps this whale, who is like the open interest being actually, let's see. Thinking about this, since open interest went down, that's making me think. I was thinking, well, maybe this is somebody selling covered calls, but selling covered calls would mean that the net call premium was going down. They're selling to open these covered calls, which is just a hedge on shares that this person or this entity already owns. But since we're seeing that the net call premium is going up, whereas the open interest is going down, that makes me think that this is not selling covered calls, which would be opening, so open interest would go up. This is just selling calls that were already open. So with open interest going down from 32,000 to 24,000, that makes me think that this is somewhat bearish, with, let's see, about a quarter of that open interest dropping down, and that total premium on Friday representing $3.6 million. That does look to be a little bit bearish with SoundHound AI. So thinking about that and coming back to the charts, I do think that we could be seeing a test of that 200-day moving average, which is at a price of $8.26. I do think that we could be heading back down to test $8 a share, and maybe we come down to, it looks like, this 100% Fibonacci extension right around 7, which would also correspond with this light blue uptrend based on these two lows, one being the low from February 6th of last year, being around $1.62, as well as the low from August 5th when markets gapped down. So two pretty pivotal levels there, and that would be coming down to around 7. So while I was thinking this is looking pretty bullish, the unusual whales data does suggest that the bulls are taking some risk off the table, selling some calls, and that this could be coming down to 8, if not 7. And 7 would be the level that I would think to really be getting excited about. But anyway, switching over to BigBear AI, that is ticker symbol BBAI. Current price or closing price from Friday was $3.34, being down 20%. Got this big gap down following their what I guess was disappointing earnings on the 6th. We see this gap down here. And so what I am looking for with BigBear AI, as it is trading down by about 6% in the pre-market, right around 313, 314, I do coincidentally have this 786 level marked there at 313.7, right around where we're currently trading at in the pre-market. If I do flip over to the 10-minute time frame, we are down to that 786 level there. So pretty interesting. Although it did look like, in the trading on Friday, we did dip down to $3.13, got a little bit of a bounce, floated up and maintained that into the after hours trading on Friday. But we did get a little bit of a gap down, and since then it's just been selling off, returning to that 786 level. So I find that to be really interesting. But what I see and what I am trying to do, I do have a long dated call, just one that expires in January, no big deal. I believe my strike for that is 10, but I may be mistaken. I'm not really sure. And I do have a couple shares share price. I don't know. Actually, I think I have more than a couple shares. I have a couple shares of SoundHound, but for BigBear AI, I think I have maybe 5 shares, probably around this range. Not really looking to dip buy around here. I just want to see how it trades around $3.14, see if it respects that 786. But what I see with this one is that 200-day moving average around $2.57. Looks like it's at $2.56.9. Got to have fun with that 69 there. And if you're just wanting that precise level, that is where it is at. And so I think that it could be fading lower, could be dancing around the 786 here, maybe testing $3. And so maybe $3 would be a nice level to accumulate, see how it responds to that 200-day moving average, and if we do start to form a bottom. But I think that right now it's really just about time, and that it could be hanging out around here before it really starts to form a bottom and start to move higher. So that is what I am looking for with BigBear AI, is just time, seeing how this plays out and seeing if it does form a bottom between the current price and around 250. I think that $3 would be a nice level to be accumulating some more, but doing that in a passive, not so aggressive way, as we do start to form a bottom. But anyways, that's just kind of my overview with all of those. I'm just going to throw this up and bring Ed back. If you did find that helpful, me sharing my thoughts, make sure you like the video, share your thoughts in the comments down below, and make sure you subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thanks a lot for watching. And so I'm just going to release that as a clip from this. I'm not going to be able to do another video later just because I got work later today. And sorry, Sean, I've ignored your comment, but you're saying that the market is at extreme fear now, something to consider. 100%. Yeah, so I was thinking we might be seeing a bottom formed, from Friday, but I think that bottom might be formed this week, but that bottom might linger, that we might be forming it over not just this week, but next week, maybe the month of March. So always good to be cautious with that. And so for me, I kind of got my hands tied. I don't have much money on the side. And so I'm just kind of hanging out, and I don't really want to be putting more money into my account just because of bills to pay, and just trying to exercise, that good habit of just keeping what's in the portfolio and not spread myself too thin. Unfortunately, I did that, but that's a lesson I got to learn. And so, since there aren't really any more comments, I might just kind of wind this down. I might have a sip of coffee, take a little breather. Whew. And maybe I could look over BigBear AI, see if there's anything in unusual whales. Didn't want to put this in the clip just because I assume there wouldn't be too much, just because there's so much volatility there. Maybe if I adjust the premium to 10,000, we can see a good amount there. Maybe I adjust that to 50,000. Got a couple orders. Looks like they were both puts, and these were looks like bearish. They were buying of puts. So that's a $4 strike from last Friday. So it looks like that one closed in the money. And then we also have the $3 put, which is, sorry, $3.50 put, which is for this coming Friday. And that, is in the money right now. And so we'll see if that, continues to be in the money. I suspect it might be. Mark, no problem. Yeah, hopefully it's helpful for, getting you oriented for the day, for the week. It's definitely helpful for me. And I find that, these videos, it's like, I would just maybe be doing this for myself for the prep, but having to verbally go over it and explain my thought process to you guys really helps me out a lot. And so I hope that it is helpful for you guys. And also just to note, if you're not aware, I am not a professional trader. I am not a financial advisor. I'm just doing this because it's fun for me. And hopefully it's helpful for you guys learning how to, grow a channel on YouTube and also just to be getting better at trading. Helpful for me and hopefully helpful for you guys. But since it's about 4 minutes before the hour, I want to be getting over to watching some videos that I enjoy getting myself ready for the day, the week. So I'm probably just going to end the stream now, and I will throw this up there. If you haven't already, please make sure you like the stream, like the videos that I do put out. It does help out the channel. And if you're not already, make sure you subscribe to the channel to get, my perspective, on the stocks, on the charts. But as always, those are just my thoughts. And